Hi folks, this is the new Miller Wicks B-flat keyless flute. If you can see that, it's a slightly different camera I'm using today, so I don't really know if you're getting that or not. That's the normal Miller Wicks. It's the same size, the holes are in the same place. It's just I wanted something with no rings on it. I wanted to see if it would make it cheaper, which it does. No rings, no keys. Can I play the same as the Miller Wicks? Well, very much so. So let's say G. So, I mean, there's not really much difference in the sort of notes at all on it. It's got a lovely wooden quality to it. Obviously it is wooden, but there's no silver liner on the inside, no metal liner, which sort of brightens up the tone, I find, whenever you're playing on the Miller Wicks. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just something nice. They wanted something that can play really low on the house, you know. The only obviously thing, the finger's the same for most notes. Obviously C natural, there's no keys, so you have to play cover, you know, normal. Let's see, no you don't. Obviously for C natural there's no key, so instead of playing the B and the key, you would play. So you play 2, 4, 5. Instead of 1 and the key, you play 2, 4, 5. And then for high E, instead of playing 1, 2, 4 and 5, as you would on the Miller Wicks 5 key, and the D sharp key, you will play 1, 2, 5, 6, like quite a lot of Scottish bands still play it that way, but a lot of fife and drum play it that way, so the fifes. It's not much of a stretch, it's just D, E, D. Obviously when you're learning to play the E that way, if you don't normally play it that way, it's just thinking before you go. So it takes me a while to get used to, but there's only C natural and high E that's different. The rest are all the same. High A is the same, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I mean, most people will play a G sharp key on that as well, just to get a bit more height. It's quite easy to play, not blowing your head off. Lovely tone. The beauty about it is, obviously, with no keys, there's nothing to get knocked off, there's nothing to break, there's nothing to repair, there's just 2 bits of wood. Obviously 2 bits of wood well put together. And it has the Miller Wicks trademark, the stamp there. Ideally, you know, bands who are on a budget, instead of going for flutes with keys, which, let's face it, yeah, that looks nice, very few people look after flutes. So something like that is a lot easier to look after than something like that. Yes, as it's wood, you will still need to oil it, but there's no pads to get damaged with oil. You just coat it, take it apart, sort of just always unscrew it slowly. You've still got your cork in here, so whenever you're oiling your flute, just make sure you rub oil on the outside, put oil on a little bit of cloth or a little brush and put it inside, but don't get it in the cork at all. But before you oil your flute, always clean it. Rifle pull through or a flute mop on the inside to get rid of any moisture. Then you're oiling your flute. With this one you can drench that in oil, it doesn't really matter, pour it all inside, pour it on the outside, put it in the holes, leave it soaking overnight, leave it upside down overnight, whatever. There's a video on there, on YouTube there, that tells you how to oil your flute, but I actually did it on this one. So there's keys and all to take off, which you don't have to do in this. And even with that other video, which probably didn't make it clear, you don't have to take your keys off on every time you clean your flute or oil your flute. But if you don't want it in your pads, maybe once a year, give your flute a good service, take your keys off, change the pads. I took my corks off on this one and obviously replaced it with red felt, because I'm stupid. With this one as well, obviously, a little bit of cork grease or Vaseline around there, whenever you're putting the flute together, so that it comes apart easier. If you don't put cork grease on your cork with this sort of flute, because it's got no rings to hold the wood together, there's a possibility that you could split it. But that's a lot more bulbous than this one, so it might, it should hold all right. But I would say, you're talking what, probably, I don't know, 200 odd, nearly £300 for a 5-key Miller Wicks NI. 130, £140 possibly for something like this. Still sounds the same, you've heard that, all the notes are the same. Easier to look after, so in the long run, if you're playing your flute all year, you're not going to be replacing keys or pads or springs, so in the long run, it's cheap anyway, but in the long run you're going to save your band a lot more money to buy those really expensive drums that the drummers have. So anyway, I'll play another wee tune and I'm going to leave you in peace.